Elias lived at the edge of the new development, a small, unassuming house dwarfed by the towering mansions of the new Grandview Estates. For decades, the lifeblood of his property had been a winding, babbling creek, a ribbon of clear water that nourished his vegetable garden and sang him to sleep at night. He had inherited the land from his grandfather, and with it, a deep respect for the creek's delicate ecosystem. To Elias, it was more than just a stream. It was a living memory, a connection to the past. The HOA of Grandview Estates, however, saw it as a liability, a wild, untamed waterway in their otherwise perfectly manicured world. The first confrontation came in the form of a formal letter from the HOA slipped under his door. It cited violations of community aesthetic standards and safety regulations, demanding that he remediate the creek. When Elias went to the monthly meeting to argue his case, he was met with cold smiles and condescending nods. He tried to explain the creek's role in the local watershed, the way it absorbed runoff and prevented flooding. He spoke of the fish, the birds, the unique plants. The HOA president, a woman named Victoria, cut him off with a patronizing sigh, explaining that their engineers had a better solution: fill it with concrete and build a sleek, decorative dry riverbed over the top. The day the trucks arrived was etched into Elias's memory forever. He had been preparing his morning coffee when the rumble began. Looking out his window, he saw a line of concrete mixers pulling up to the property line. He rushed outside, yelling, pleading. But the workers, under the watchful eyes of an HOA representative, simply went about their work. The air filled with the churning sound of mixers as the gray, viscous fluid poured into the crystal-clear water. The beautiful, singing creek was silenced in a matter of hours, replaced by a dull, lifeless expanse of drying concrete. Elias watched in numb silence as a piece of his history was buried. For months, the concrete remained. The once vibrant plants along the creek's banks withered and died. Elias's garden, which had relied on the creek's natural moisture, struggled to produce. Meanwhile, the Grandview Estates homeowners continued to live in their pristine paradise. Their perfect lawns a vibrant green thanks to industrial-grade irrigation systems. They would wave to Elias as they drove by, seemingly oblivious to the concrete scar on his property and the silent ache in his heart. It was a period of profound loneliness for Elias, a time when he felt the weight of his loss more than ever. The weather had been unseasonably dry, but then the forecasts changed. A series of powerful storms rolled in from the coast. The rain started as a gentle drizzle, but it soon became a relentless downpour. For the first day, the Grandview Estates residents were unconcerned, confident in their advanced drainage and sump pump systems. But as the rain continued to fall, the low-lying areas in the perfectly level community began to fill with water. The manicured lawns turned soggy, and small puddles formed where there had been none before. A collective nervousness began to spread among the homeowners. On the third day of the storm, the homeowners of Grandview Estates watched in horror as their lawns became lakes. The water, with nowhere to go, was seeping into their basements and rising around their foundations. The grand million-dollar homes that had once seemed so impenetrable were now surrounded by a growing, foul-smelling swamp. A brand-new white Tesla, parked in a driveway, was now half submerged. The HOA president, Victoria, stood on her porch in a state of shock, her pristine world literally sinking around her. Elias's old warnings, once dismissed, now echoed in their ears with a terrifying new clarity. The rain finally stopped, but the swamp remained. The once proud residents were now dealing with flooded homes and expensive repairs. Victoria, humbled and with a look of genuine regret, came to Elias's door. She didn't offer a legal notice or a condescending explanation, but a quiet apology and a plea for help. Elias looked out at the stagnant water, his heart heavy for the lost creek, but also sensing a new, fragile beginning. The story concludes not with triumph or revenge, but with the quiet, shared understanding of a mistake. Elias, with his deep knowledge of the land, begins the slow, arduous process of helping them find a way to let the land breathe again, a process that will eventually restore both the creek and the community's respect for the natural world.